16. Room for improvement. Drake hadn't found his voice yet. That uncertainty defines Room for Improvement, which was his debut mixtape from 2006. The title is painfully accurate. The project is awkward in places with stiff flows, forced moments, and Drake often taking a back seat while collaborators handle hooks. His rapping lacks precision, and his inflections sound labored. At the same time, flashes of autobiographical honesty hint at what's coming. He's already writing about identity, race, and belonging in ways that would later define his appeal. The problem is that the confidence and delivery aren't there yet. Historically interesting, occasionally revealing, but largely underdeveloped, Room for Improvement earns its place at the bottom of the list. 15. Comeback Season. This is Drake stepping closer to himself without fully arriving. That tension runs throughout Comeback Season. There's clear improvement in his rapping and ambition, but he still sounds unsure of how to package it. Drake experiments with punchlines, introspection, and industry awareness, sometimes successfully, sometimes painfully. In hindsight, some bars feel clunky, while others show surprising foresight about fame and criticism. The project matters less for its individual songs and more for what it represents. Drake realizing who he wants to be, even if he hasn't figured out how to get there yet. Comeback Season isn't a breakthrough, but it's the step that makes the leap possible. 14. Dark Lane Demo Tapes. Context does a lot of the work here. Released during the pandemic, Dark Lane Demo Tapes arrived with unusually low expectations. Rather than rushing a studio album, Drake collected leaks, experiments, and loose tracks into a low-stakes project. The lack of a central theme is obvious, but that freedom allows for stylistic range. Drake tests flows, borrows regional sounds, and leans into experimentation without pressure. Some ideas land better than others, and none of it feels essential to his catalog. That's not a flaw. Dark Lane succeeds because it knows exactly what it is. A placeholder, an appetizer, and a chance for Drake to try things without consequence. 13. Certified Lover Boy. By this point, Drake's formula was fully formed. That's both the strength and weakness of Certified Lover Boy, released in 2021. The album proves Drake can still dominate commercially and execute polished records across rap and R&B. He delivers confident rapping, emotional moments, and undeniable hits. The issue is familiarity. Nearly every lane he explores here has been done more convincingly on earlier projects. The introspection lacks the vulnerability of Take Care. The bravado lacks edge, and the sequencing feels bloated. CLB isn't a failure, but in the context of his discography, it feels like Drake replaying highlights rather than pushing forward. 12. Thank Me Later. This album carries the weight of expectation. Drake's 2010 debut studio album plays things safe in obvious ways. Big-name features, mainstream production, and conventional structures dominate the track list. Compared to So Far Gone, the project feels cautious. What saves it is vulnerability. Drake's singing sounds unsure, his rapping tentative, and that fragility gives the album emotional texture. Songs built around insecurity and longing feel genuine rather than calculated. While Thank Me Later lacks cohesion and confidence, it captures a version of Drake before success hardened him. The ideas are there, even if the execution hasn't fully caught up. 11. What a Time to Be Alive. Drake takes a back seat here, intentionally. That's part of what defines What a Time to Be Alive, his 2015 collaboration with Future. The project moves at Future's pace, driven by trap production and flex-heavy energy. Drake adapts well, delivering quotables and timely jabs without forcing depth. Outside of a few moments, particularly his solo Closer, he avoids introspection entirely. That restraint works in the album's favor. This isn't meant to be a personal statement. It's a victory lap, a moment captured in real time. Fun, impactful, and culturally relevant, but not designed to carry long-term emotional weight. 10th. For All the Dogs. The criticisms had become predictable by this point. That context hangs over for all the dogs, released in 2023. Drake sounds hyper-aware of expectations, leaning into familiar structures rather than challenging them. The album checks every Drake box: moody intro, trending styles, high-profile features, and late album detours. While there are strong individual moments, the project struggles with bloat and a lack of direction. It feels weighed down by its own identity as a Drake album. For All the Dogs isn't bad, but it rarely feels necessary, competent, polished, and overly safe. 9. More Life. This project works best when treated as a collection. Drake framed More Life as a playlist in 2017, and that distinction matters. Spanning 22 tracks, the album embraces variety over cohesion. Drake moves effortlessly between rap, R&B, dancehall, and global sounds. The sequencing is intentionally loose, which keeps the experience engaging even when individual tracks vary in quality. While it lacks a central narrative, More Life succeeds as a snapshot of Drake's versatility at mid-career. It isn't his strongest album, but it's one of his most enjoyable bodies of work, especially when approached without traditional album expectations. 8. Scorpion. Everything was lined up for this moment. That's what makes Scorpion, released in 2018, so frustrating. Coming off peak dominance and public controversy, Drake had endless material to work with. Instead of focus, he chose sprawl. The album's 25 tracks dilute its strongest moments, burying them among filler. There are highlights, but they struggle to define the project as a whole. Rather than confronting criticism head-on, Drake sounds defensive and scattered. A tighter version of Scorpion could have been a defining statement. What remains is a missed opportunity overshadowed by its own excess. 7. Honestly, Nevermind. This was a genuine left turn. Honestly, Nevermind, released in 2022, abandons rap expectations almost entirely. The album is concise, dance-focused, and built around mood rather than lyricism. Drake commits fully to the sound, creating a seamless listening experience that prioritizes movement and atmosphere. While the writing lacks depth, the cohesion and risk-taking earn respect. This isn't an album designed for traditional hip-hop audiences, and that's intentional. Honestly, Nevermind stands out because it shows Drake willing to pivot creatively, even at the cost of alienating part of his fan base. 6. Her Loss. Structure brings focus back. That's the advantage of Her Loss, Drake's 2022 collaboration with 21 Savage. The chemistry keeps the album sharp and efficient. Drake sounds energized, competitive, and more disciplined than he had in years. 21 Savage's presence provides balance, preventing overindulgence and sharpening the tone. The project blends menace, humor, and technical skill without unnecessary bloat. While controversy distracted from its release, the music holds up. Her Loss stands as one of Drake's strongest late-career releases, reminding listeners how effective he can be within clear boundaries. 5. Views. Expectation shapes perception with this one. Views arrived after years of build-up and cultural dominance. The album doesn't always meet the impossible standards Drake set for himself, but its impact is undeniable. Views defined a moment, producing massive global hits and cementing Drake as pop culture's central figure. While the project suffers from length and familiar themes, its highs remain powerful. It may not be his most refined work, but Views captures Drake at peak reach, controlling the sound of an era even when critics push back. 4th. So Far Gone. This is where everything clicks. So Far Gone establishes Drake's core identity. The mixtape blends vulnerability, melodic instincts, and conversational rapping in a way that reshaped mainstream hip-hop. The production creates a nocturnal atmosphere that perfectly supports themes of ambition, loneliness, and self-doubt. Drake sounds sincere, conflicted, and hungry. Nearly every version of him that followed can be traced back to this project. So Far Gone isn't just a breakthrough, it's the blueprint that made the rest of his career possible. 3rd. If you're reading this, it's too late. This is Drake at his coldest. Dropped without warning. In 2015, this album strips away sentimentality. The tone is confrontational, the writing sharp, and the production dark. Drake sounds unconcerned with approval and fully invested in dominance. Minimal features amplify his presence, and nearly every track feels deliberate. This album captures a moment where confidence hardens into menace. Focused, cohesive, and endlessly replayable, it represents Drake at his most unfuckwithable. Second, Nothing Was the Same. Precision defines this era. Nothing Was the Same is Drake at peak discipline. The album is tightly sequenced, emotionally focused, and technically sharp. Drake balances introspection and bravado effortlessly, sounding both reflective and commanding. There's little wasted space, and every track serves a purpose. This is the album where Drake proves he can deliver a cohesive artistic statement without sacrificing accessibility. For many listeners, Nothing Was the Same represents his creative peak, even if it narrowly misses the top spot here. First, Take Care. This is Drake becoming himself in real time. Released in 2011, Take Care captures unresolved tension better than any other project. Fame, insecurity, ambition, and emotional honesty collide without restraint. Drake sounds exposed rather than calculated, vulnerable rather than protected. The album doesn't resolve those contradictions. It lives inside them. While it isn't his tightest work, it's his most human. Take Care defines Drake's emotional foundation, and every album since has been measured against it. That's why it remains his most important project. That's my ranking. Your turn. Drop your top 3 Drake albums below and tell me what I got wrong. Subscribe if you want more music breakdowns without the nostalgia goggles.